You know, lately I've been getting a lot of emails asking about specific genres and what my favorites in that are, so I figured I'd take some of them and turn that into this edition of Ask the Guru. The first question I got focused on krautrock, asking what my favorite albums, bands, and everything in that genre were specifically. To be honest, like in every genre, it's almost impossible for me to pull a single favorite, but especially in krautrock because there's so much important and amazing music to be found there. But like so many people, I'd have to say Kraftwerk is probably my favorite group of the krautrock era. I mean, they kinda are the base of it all. But for me, I'm a huge fan of the Man Machine. Above Autobahn, above Trans Euro Express, above all of it, I am a big-time Man Machine advocate. It is a perfect record. It's not to take away from their other albums, but with Kraftwerk, it is a matter of preference because they rarely made a bad record. Along with that, I'm a big fan of Can. I also love Amandul, and I guess some people like to put The Fall into krautrock, and I can kind of see where that comes from, so The Fall to some extent. The bottom line is you have to have plenty of krautrock in your collection, so make sure you take care of that. The next person asked me my general opinion of jazz and why I thought it was such an underrated genre. Now, I don't think it's so much underrated as it is underappreciated and underexposed within the youth, but that's always been an issue. For whatever reason, jazz music still has that stuffy subtext to it in a lot of ways, and even though we all know it's wrong, we have to all do our part to expose people who aren't into jazz to great jazz. In terms of my favorite from the world of jazz, it all begins with John Coltrane, specifically his Village Vanguard recordings and Giant Steps. Those are amazing albums. Also, I regularly play Pharoah Sanders' Karma album and Bobby Hutcherson's Component record, along with other essential sub-style records like Herbie Hancock's Headhunters. That record, never gets old. In jazz though, I'm also really into the modern jazz scene. Medeski Martin and Wood, John Scofield, so many others. Jazz is absolutely alive and well, you just have to go and find it. So if you're not into jazz, get into jazz. And if you are into jazz, do your job and turn your friends onto it also. My last question came up a couple times and it basically asked my thoughts on the current folk music scene. I'll admit that I'm honestly not into it as much as I probably should be, but it also depends on your terminology for the word folk music. I would argue that somebody like Valerie June is absolutely folk music and I love her music. Also, you've got guys like Tim Berry and Chuck Reagan who have stepped away from their punk roots, and a lot of people will say that punk is folk music, and the style of music that they're playing now, to me, is also folk. Now, in terms of this whole indie folk thing where you got all the hipsters there, no, I'm not really into it. I've never been into Mumford & Sons or any of their copycat bands. It's not because they're big or they won Grammys or anything like that, they just don't really do much for me musically. Like I said, folk music is alive and well, just go find it. There's tons of great music to be found. So those are my questions for this time. If you've got any music-related questions, go ahead and email them to me at thedailyguru@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook right here, and I'll see you guys again next time.